A 26-year-old graphic designer in Austin bought a pair of sneakers last Tuesday. $79, split into 4 payments, no interest. She didn't think twice about it. 3 months later, she's juggling 14 different payment plans across 3 different apps, and she can't remember what half of them are for. She's not in debt, technically, but she also can't explain where her paycheck goes anymore. This isn't a story about financial irresponsibility. It's a story about design, and the design is working exactly as intended. Buy now, pay later has become the fastest-growing payment method in the world. Afterpay, Klarna, Affirm, PayPal, Pay in 4. The names change, but the promise is always the same. Split your purchase into installments, no interest, no hassle, no credit check required. In 2023 alone, Americans used BNPL services to spend over $75 billion. That number is expected to double by 2026. If you've used it, you're not alone. If you've used it more than once, you're definitely not alone. And if you've ever felt like it made spending feel frictionless, that's not an accident. Because buy now, pay later wasn't built to help you budget. It was built to help you forget you're spending money at all. And it's working. Let's rewind. 10 years ago, if you wanted to buy something you couldn't afford, you had a few options. Put it on a credit card, take out a personal loan, or just wait. Credit cards came with interest rates, loans came with paperwork, waiting came with disappointment. All of these options had friction. They forced you to pause, to consider, to feel the weight of the decision. Then came BNPL, and it removed all of that. The pitch was simple. Why pay for everything up front when you can spread it out over 6 weeks? No interest, no fees. As long as you pay on time, it's completely free. It sounded too good to be true, and in a way it was, but not for the reason most people think. See, BNPL companies don't make their money from you, at least not directly. They make it from the stores you're buying from. Every time you use Afterpay or Klarna at checkout, the merchant pays a fee, usually between 2 and 8% of the purchase price. That's higher than a credit card fee, sometimes double. So why would a store agree to that? Because it works. Studies show that when BNPL is offered at checkout, people spend 20 to 30% more than they would have otherwise. They add extra items, they upgrade, they buy things they weren't even shopping for, and they do it without thinking. That's the entire model. BNPL doesn't just make payments easier, it makes spending feel like not spending. Here's how. When you swipe a credit card, your brain registers a loss. It's small, but it's there. You're giving something up. Money leaves your account. The transaction feels real. But when you split a $75 purchase into 4 payments of $18.75, your brain doesn't process that the same way. $18.75 doesn't feel like $75. It feels like $18.75. Psychologists call this mental accounting. Your brain categorizes the payments as separate, smaller expenses rather than one larger one. So the total cost gets diluted, the pain of paying gets spread out, and your resistance to spending drops. BNPL companies know this. They've engineered their entire experience around it. The apps are clean, the approval is instant, the language is soft. You're not taking on debt, you're splitting your payment. You're not borrowing, you're paying over time. It's the same thing, but it doesn't feel like the same thing. And that difference is worth billions. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Let's say you use BNPL 5 times in a month. Maybe a sweater, a kitchen gadget, a birthday gift, concert tickets, a phone case. Nothing extravagant. Each purchase gets split into 4 payments. By the end of the month, you've made 5 purchases, but you've also created 20 future payment obligations. Those payments are staggered. They hit your account on different days. Some overlap, some don't. You're no longer thinking about what you bought, you're thinking about when the payments are due. And here's the thing. BNPL companies don't send you a monthly statement like a credit card does. There's no single number that shows you what you owe across all your purchases. You have to open the app, check each plan individually, and add it up yourself. Most people don't. So they keep spending. They see another item they want. They check their bank account. There's money in there. They don't realize that half of it is already spoken for by payments coming out next week. One study from the UK found that 43% of BNPL users didn't know how much they owed at any given time, not because they were careless, but because the system isn't designed to make it easy to know. And when people don't know what they owe, they keep spending. Now let's talk about what happens when you miss a payment. Remember, BNPL advertises itself as zero interest, and that's true, as long as you pay on time. But if you're late, the fees start immediately. Afterpay charges $8 for a missed payment, then another $8 if you don't pay within a week. Klarna's fees vary, but can go up to $7 per missed payment. Affirm reports late payments to credit bureaus. It doesn't sound like much, $8, but here's the problem. If you're juggling multiple payment plans and you miss just one payment on each plan, those fees add up fast. Miss 3 payments across 3 different plans, that's $48 in fees on purchases that might have totaled only $200 to begin with. Suddenly, your zero-interest plan has an effective interest rate. And because the payments are automated, a lot of people don't realize they've missed one until the fee has already been charged. Maybe their account balance was lower than they thought. Maybe a payment came out on a weekend and they forgot. Maybe they just lost track. It happens more often than you'd think. According to a report from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, roughly 10 to 15% of BNPL users have been charged a late fee. That might not sound like high, but when you're talking about $75 billion in transactions, that's a lot of $8 fees. And those fees, they're profit, pure profit. So why does this matter? Because BNPL isn't just changing how people pay, it's changing how people think about money. Credit cards taught people to be cautious. You knew you were borrowing. You knew there was interest. You knew it could spiral. That awareness created friction, and friction, for better or worse, created restraint. BNPL removes that. It makes spending feel like consequence-free. And for a lot of people, especially younger people who grew up avoiding credit cards, it becomes the default way to pay for everything. The average BNPL user is between 25 and 35. They're not using it for emergencies. They're using it for clothes, electronics, groceries, everyday stuff. And because it's so easy, they're using it constantly. A survey from Credit Karma found that 34% of BNPL users said they've bought something they couldn't afford because the service was available. 34%. That's 1 in 3 people admitting they spent money they didn't have because the payment plan made it feel affordable. That's not budgeting. That's the opposite of budgeting. And the long-term effects are starting to show. Financial advisors are seeing more clients in their 20s and 30s who aren't technically in debt, but they're living paycheck to paycheck because their income is already allocated to a dozen small payment plans they forgot they signed up for. They're not drowning, but they're treading water, and they don't know how they got there. Here's the irony. BNPL was supposed to be the ethical alternative to credit cards. No interest, no debt traps, just a simple, transparent way to manage cash flow. And in some cases, it is, if you use it once in a while, if you track your payments, if you treat it like a tool and not a crutch. But that's not how most people use it, because it's not designed to be used that way. It's designed to be invisible, to blend into the background, to forget you're even there until the payment comes out of your account and you wonder why you have less money than you thought. The companies will tell you it's about flexibility, about giving people options, and maybe that's part of it. But the other part is this: the easier it is to spend, the more people spend, and the more people spend, the more merchants pay in fees. And the more merchants pay in fees, the more valuable BNPL becomes. It's not a conspiracy, it's a business model, and it's working exactly as designed.
So here's the question nobody's asking. If buy now, pay later is free, why is it worth $100 billion? The answer is simple. It's free for you, but you're not the customer. The customer is the store, and what they're buying is your willingness to spend more than you planned. That's the trap. Not the fees, not the late payments, even not the debt. The trap is that it makes spending feel like nothing. And once spending feels like nothing, it's really hard to stop. You don't wake up one day buried in BNPL debt. You wake up one day realizing you've been spending money for months without ever really feeling it leave your account. And by then, the app has already suggested 3 more things you can split into payments. The question isn't whether BNPL works, it's whether it's working for you.